Hello everyone, I am Zazubaar. And you know what they say about dreams, and by they I mean people who are a lot smarter than I am apparently. They say that dreams are a window to the soul of any person who has those dreams. That dreams are kind of a representation of somebody's current feelings and their inner self, really. What's going on in somebody, what makes somebody tick. And if that's at all true, and let's just establish this, dreams have never been concretely defined by any kind of psychoanalyst or psychologist or any scientist. There's a bunch of theories, but none of them have been defined. We still don't quite know what dreams are. And you might say, why the fuck is Zazubaar talking about dreams? Well, I'm talking about dreams because today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to do potentially the weirdest video I've ever done. Today, I'm here to describe to you all a dream that I had. And I think that by describing it out loud, I might be able to come up with some kind of logical, why the fuck did I have this dream? So, if you follow me on Twitter, or if you're friends with me on Facebook, you already know kind of the basic foundation of what this dream was and why I'm sharing it. But for those of you who don't follow me on Facebook and Twitter, I will elaborate. So basically, last night, and let me just say this to kind of create another foundation, I was really sick yesterday, and I've been really sick lately. But yesterday I had some kind of stomach bug or something, and I was really sick, and I had a terrible sleep. And kind of as a basic fact, and I'm sure everybody will agree with this, when you're sick, you have weird dreams, the weirdest dreams imaginable. And they're elevated, and they get even weirder the sicker you are. So, being sick last night, I had a weird fucking dream. And for those of you who don't follow me on Facebook and on Twitter, the weird dream that I had when I was sick last night was that I had a dream about watching Godzilla 2014 for the first time. Now, that's going to sound fucking weird, because it is weird, because why would I have a dream about seeing a movie for the first time and be so impacted by it as I was? It's just a movie. Here's the thing about Godzilla 2014. I'm a big Godzilla fan, so that's obviously the big major thing, is I want to see this movie, and I want to see it as a good movie. But the bigger thing is, this movie has been such a big part of my life for so long, because I've been hearing about it and talking about it long before any of the people who were in the movie got involved with it. I have literally been following the production of this movie for 4 fucking years. 4 years building up to the release of a movie. It's insane. I mean, it's crazy. 4 years. If you go on my YouTube channel, the first video I ever did on Godzilla 2014 was put out 4 years exactly to the day before the movie is set to come out. How fucked up is that? That's insanely fucked up. So, this movie has been on my mind for a long time, and has been built up in my mind as kind of this major event in my life for a long time. So obviously, seeing it is gonna be a big fucking deal. And, you know, the one worry and the one thing I've joked about for all this time is that what if and I'm kind of reminded of the movie Fanboys here. For those of you who haven't seen Fanboys, it was I think it came out in like 2009. It was kind of an indie flick. It was all about this group of Star Wars fans who one of their friends was dying of cancer, and he was set to die before the new Star Wars movie was going to come out, which was Star Wars Episode 1. So they go on this big wacky road trip to try and get him to see the movie early. before he died, and he eventually does get to see it early at Skywalker Ranch, and he dies, and his friends are online to see the movie opening night. They're all in costume and shit, and they're getting ready. They're excited, and right before they go in to see the movie, they've just been on this huge adventure. One of them just goes, "Hey guys, what if it sucks?" That line was so fucking powerful to me because it's so fucking true. You have this giant adventure. This movie is such a big part of your life before you see it. And the build up to the movie is so huge. It's impossible to think, what if the movie doesn't live up to this build up? And of course, in the case of Star Wars Episode 1, it fucking didn't. And I thought that line was so fucking funny, and I thought that it was such a powerful line. And that's kind of the line that's been in my mind. And that's what the dream was about. It was about, what if, this movie's been such a big part of my life, and kind of a weird fear I've had is, what if it sucks? And that was the dream. That's what the dream was about. And in my dream, I saw Godzilla 2014, and it fucking sucked. And it was awful. It was worse than Godzilla 98. And it was bad in the weirdest ways possible, and I have to tell this story just because of how fucking weird the dream is. And I think that telling it I think it'll be entertaining for one. And I don't know, it's just so fucked up. I've got to record it. And if you don't want to watch it, if you don't want to listen to me describe a dream I had, just get out of the video now, because I'm gonna fucking do it. I'm gonna do it in gritty detail, in typical Zazubaar rambling detail. So get fucking ready. And if you have no interest in that, back out now. But if you want to hear a fucked up story about a weird fucking dream, I'm going to tell you a fucked up dream story. So here we go. Zazubaar's Godzilla 2014 dream. Alright, let's start out. This dream builds in to 3 sections. This was a very layered dream that I had. I don't know about you guys, but I don't tend to have detailed dreams that I remember when I wake up the next day. It just doesn't happen. It tends to happen a lot when I'm sick. But when I'm not sick, I don't tend to have very detailed dreams. And when I'm not sick, it's usually because something is extremely present on my mind, but I'm not talking about it with people. And I guess that's kind of a factor here, because I haven't been talking about, what if this movie sucks? But, it's definitely, I don't think that's exactly what's going on. But anyway, let's get into the dream. But this was a dream that I retained a lot of information about, and I have a lot of memory of. And I do remember that it has kind of 3 layers. So let's start out with layer 1. So, the weirdest thing about this dream is that I start out inside of the story. Meaning, I start out in the events that build up to the events of Godzilla 2014. Meaning, I start out in the dream as if I'm in the movie. Which is fucking weird. And then, as the dream progresses, I slowly remove myself from the movie to the outside perspective of Bill Wurster actually watching Godzilla 2014. That's fucking meta. So let's get into more detail. So here's what I remember of the dream, and it's pretty fucking detailed. It's again 3 layers. Layer 1. It starts out not at all relating to Godzilla 2014. It starts out with kind of being something involved in my life, but it's not something that happened. But it's something that it's extremely weird. So, and also, and let me just say this, when you're having a dream, you obviously have no concept of you dreaming. But the weird thing is, in the case of each of these dreams, I did actually, at almost every point of the dream, think, I really hope this is a dream because these events suck. So here's what happened. So the first part is, I'm riding a bike at night down a road. And for context for people who I mean, if you live in my area, which you probably don't, but for those of you who don't live in Carl Place or don't know the geography of Carl Place, I suppose, the road where we shot the first chase scene in Werewolf of Carl Place, where William Stone is going through those streets looking for the werewolf. He's on the phone with Meg, Nicola, for those of you thinking of the cast. That's the road that I was riding down. And I'm riding a bike down this road. And all else says, I haven't ridden a bike in like 3 years. So it's been a long time since I've ridden a bike. So I have no idea why riding a bike was on my mind. So I'm riding a bike, minding my own business at like midnight. God knows why I'm doing this. I have no idea why. So I'm riding a bike, and all of a sudden, some guy, and it's a guy I know. I won't say his name to protect the innocent. But a guy I know, a friend of mine, and this is important, a friend of mine who I haven't spoken to in years because something happened between us, something bad. And this is something that happened in real life. This is a guy I'm not friends with anymore because something bad happened between us. And he drives in front, and he rides his bike in front of me. And the reason why I know in the reality of my dream that it's weird that I'm riding a bike is because he looks like now. He's the age that he would be now. So which means that I've got to be current, present day me. Meaning this isn't like a dream I'm having where I'm a child, which is fucking bizarre. Because again, I'm riding a bike. So that's probably the weirdest part of it. Of this particular section. It gets weirder, but that was bizarre at the forefront. So I'm riding my bike. He stops me and goes, hey. And for some reason, I've got mail in my hand, and I didn't remember having mail in my hand. Or no, I didn't have mail. I'm sorry. I'm actually re-remembering the dream as I go along. I didn't have mail in my hand. He had mail. One of us had, I don't remember exactly, one of us had mail in our hands, like envelopes and shit. And he starts questioning me about where the mail came from, and the big point of contention was, where do you pick up your mail? And I was like, what are you talking about? Why are you asking me where I pick up my mail? As if I get mail. I don't get a lot of mail. The only mail I get is bills for school. So that was another weird thing immediately. So he starts questioning me very aggressively. Like, so where do you pick up your mail? Which is a weird fucking question. And in the reality of my dream, I thought it was a weird question. I had no idea why he was asking it. And for some reason, across my mind came the notion, oh my god, the address at which my name is associated with, on all my official, written, government shit, is his address. Which is bizarre. Fucking makes no sense. Obviously not true. But in the reality of my dream, the address at which I should officially get my mail to, I had written down as my friend's address and never changed it. God knows why. But in the reality of my dream, this is something I had done. This is a mistake I had made that I had never rectified. Again, I have no idea why. I have no idea why this was a fear I had or whatever, but whatever. So let's move on so we can get to the meat of this. So this became a big point of contention between him and I, and he's like, why'd you do this? I've got you now, ha ha ha. Like, it was this thing, it was like, he's got me. This is something he's got me for. It was weird. I have no idea why it happened, but it did. And again, I have no idea why, in real life, why this was something on my mind, why it manifested in a dream. Bizarre. So, this happens, and then we go to his house so I can apologize to his family for having my stuff mailed to him because they caught me red-handed. And again, I must be insane because I have no idea why this was a thing. Why exactly was this an issue? Why would I do it? And why it's such an unreal situation and such an unreal thing to be It was just weird and no idea where it came from. But in the reality of my dream, I also thought to myself, this is such a big thing that I don't want to be involved in. God, I wish this was a dream. And in the reality of my dream, I thought it was real life. And then suddenly, I'm at a racetrack. This just stops. This whole reality just, this situation just ends. And I don't know, in the reality of my dream, I didn't cognize it, so maybe some things happened in my dream that I'm just not remembering. But one thing led to another, I guess, and suddenly, I guess it's a couple days later, I'm at a horse racing track. But it's not a normal horse racing track. It's a giant, like, mega horse racing track with, like fucking multiple racetracks built into one another. Giant, like, Coliseum-esque columns built on top of each other. It was enormous. And, and this actually kind of makes sense to me. There is a real place that this one would come out of. So what I remember happening is I'm walking into this horse racing track with my brother and my father. And what makes sense is that this would happen because for my whole life, there's this horse racing track in upstate New York called Saratoga. And I've gone to this horse racing track with my father and with my brother my whole life, to Saratoga. Now, I don't think this was supposed to be Saratoga, and if it was, it didn't manifest itself in the dream, but it was Saratoga. I mean, no, it wasn't Saratoga, but it was a horse racing track, and I think the reason why the situation manifested itself was because of my real life experiences. So we're at this horse racing track, right? And and the reason why and this is the second layer. This is layer number 2 because these events kind of these events really have nothing to do with the thing that happened with my friend. But it followed it directly, so I remember them being linked somehow. So we're at the horse racing track, and the reason why I remember this so vividly is because I remember passing by a Carvel ice cream. For those of you who don't live on the East Coast, Carvel ice cream is a chain of ice cream restaurants that serve ice cream. And the reason why I remember this so vividly is because I work at a Carvel. I currently work at a Carvel. And that's where I work. And I think I've mentioned this in videos before, but that's where I work. That's my place of employment. And that's why when I passed by it, and whenever I pass by a Carvel, I always go, "Oh, I work at a Carvel." Like jokingly, like, "Oh, I work at a Carvel," like it's supposed to mean something. And I would always joke. "Oh, I should go up to him and fucking say and be like, I bet I'm a better Carvel employee than you are." Just like very like sarcastically and like it fucking means something, like very like kind of ironically, like, oh, it's I'm gonna play it up like it means something even though it's kind of a silly thing to like be arrogant about. Anyway, so I passed it, and what I remember happening is going up to the Carvel employees and ordering something, and they were really shitty at it. Like, they were really bad workers and just shitty customer service. And I remember bringing up, "You guys suck at this. Maybe you guys should," jokingly I said, "maybe you guys should let me run this." And then it legit happened. I took over their Carvel stand. And it's just like, it's such a weird fucking reality. I don't understand it. I really question myself sometimes, even my dream self. So I took over the Carvel stand, right? And I remember forcing my dad and brother to work with me and help me run the Carvel stand. And I remember saying this specifically to my dad. I remember saying, "Oh no, we shouldn't have done this. I hope this was a dream because it's going to be really busy today." It's just such a weird... I know, it's just this is a very heightened kind of dream reality. I don't know. But unlike the situation with my friend, this part of the dream specifically builds into getting into the Godzilla side of the dream. Okay, so here's what happens. So eventually, by some means, I get out of running the Carvel stand. Something happens, and I don't remember. Maybe there was a connector, but I just remember flashing all of a sudden to being in the racetrack, having left the Carvel stand. And I remember being in the racetrack and being in like these weird kind of like alleyways in between the columns. Like there were these weird like ancient Rome style columns that were around the racetrack. Okay, you know how benches are situated at racetracks? But instead of benches, they were these giant stone columns. Very heightened reality again. And I remember being in between them and all of a sudden being terrified. And the reason why I was terrified is because another aspect of my life is that my brother's in a wheelchair. My brother is handicapped. He can't walk. And one fear I've always had is that we're going to get in a really dangerous situation, like a natural disaster is going to happen or a fire is going to happen. And a fear I've had is I'm not going to be able to save my brother because he's in a wheelchair and it's hard to get him around. And, you know, in a compromising situation, it's almost impossible to do things like get him downstairs or move him around very quickly. It's just a legit fear that I have. Especially a fire, we'd be screwed. It's a legit fear I have. And the reason why this builds into Godzilla is because all of a sudden, Godzilla attacked the horse track. And in the reality of my dream, and what I learned later in the dream, is that this whole thing, this whole situation, was the beginning of Godzilla 2014. I shit you not. This entire fucking situation was the beginning of the movie. That I had put myself into the movie. And that the events that were occurring to me personally were in the movie. And that they were the beginning. And that after this point, after realizing that it was Godzilla attacking this horse track, who I had still perceived as a fictional character, all of a sudden, I realized that it's me watching the movie. Holy fuck! It was weird. And it was then at this moment that, okay, and here's exactly what happened. And this is, let's get into some of the more specific events that might explain why I transitioned into being an external force watching the movie as opposed to being in the reality of the movie. Is that Godzilla started to attack the horse track, and there was this terrifying moment where we couldn't see Godzilla, like he was behind, somehow he was small enough, where he was behind the columns of stone seats, and we couldn't see him. And we couldn't tell if he was coming towards us or away from us, and we weren't able to move my brother. And we're struggling to move my brother. And it was all of a sudden, snap, I'm outside of the movie. I think in the reality of my dream, I died in the context of the movie. I got killed by Godzilla. And then in reality, I removed myself from the dream and snapped back into I'm watching a movie. How fucking weird is that? I seriously think I'm nuts, because that is such a weird fucking thing to have happen in a dream. Wow. Anyway, so yeah, that was all part of the movie. And then, as a person watching the movie, I began to realize that in the reality of my dream, I realized that all the people I had encountered as myself in that movie, when I snapped out of the movie, if that makes any sense, I realized that we were all cartoon characters. We were all animated. What? We were all animated. We were all cartoon characters. And the only and by cartoon characters I mean exaggerated, like 2D, like fucking Tex Avery cartoon characters. And the only character in the movie who wasn't that way was Godzilla. He looked like legit CG. And I just thought it was just like, how weird is that? And I remember removing myself from the movie, watching the movie, but I wasn't watching the movie in theaters like you would expect. It was months before the movie came out, and I'm watching the movie not in theaters, but I'm watching it on a pirated VHS tape, not on DVD, a pirated VHS tape. So I'm watching the movie months in advance, and it's terrible. But not only is Godzilla CGI, but it's terrible CGI, like sci-fi level CGI. And it was so weird. Like, but his CG was the kind of CG you would see in a live-action movie where we're all cartoon characters. And in this version of the movie, Godzilla was attacking New York, and he was really small, like smaller than usual Godzilla. I'm talking like 60 feet, which would explain why he was able to hide behind the stone columns. It was just weird, guys. It was just weird. And Godzilla was attacking New York City, and he was just devastating. And also in the reality of my dream, Godzilla wasn't behaving like he does in the movies. Like, in the movies, when Godzilla attacks a city, he attacks in a very alien fashion. And what I mean by that is, he doesn't go after specific people, because the idea is that Godzilla is so big that he doesn't recognize us. That he just kind of unemotionally destroys, and just destroys whatever is in his way. And in my dream, Godzilla was like going after people, like all like serial killer style. Like there would be like people in a building, and Godzilla would jump up, look at them, growl, and then kill them all. Oh, guys, I don't know. It was weird. And in the reality of my dream, I remember thinking to myself, this is terrible. God, I wish this was a... And I remember thinking to myself, oh, I should have fucking waited. I should have waited. Like, somehow waiting would have made the movie better. Like, watching it pirated long before the movie would come out. Like, somehow it was my fault that the movie was that bad. Like, I had blamed myself for the movie being that shitty because I had pirated it and seen it beforehand. Oh, how weird is that, guys? How fucking weird is that? Anyway, so let's wrap this up because it doesn't go much further than this. After having that thought, then the movie continued to get worse. But as I began to realize how terrible it was, it started to kind of change. Like, the movie almost seemed to be mimicking my feelings. Like, it was terrible, but then it started to, like, just go all over the place. Like, it started to just, like, jump in a million different directions, trying to almost redefine itself. So then, the human characters all shift from being cartoons to being live action. And before this point, the movie didn't look anything like the trailers. It was all like this weird fucking bizarre version of it. And then, in my mind, the movie started... Because I remember thinking, this isn't anything like the trailers. And then, the movie started to mimic the trailers a little bit. Like, it still looked nothing like the movie will probably be. But it started to mimic, like, Bryan Cranston's character came in, and Ken Watanabe's character came in. And it was at this moment that I realized, oh my god, I really hope I'm dreaming right now, because this movie sucks. This movie is so shitty, I really hope, I wish I was dreaming right now, so that way I would wake up to the future of this movie being good. And it was at that point that I woke up, and I was like, I checked, okay, I'm laying in bed, I'm tired, I'm covered up in blankets, and I looked at the time. It's like 6:30 in the morning. Okay, that was a dream. Okay, so then the movie hasn't come out yet. And I remember pulling out my phone. This isn't dream now. This is real life. I pulled out my phone and I checked the date, and it was January 31st. And I was like, okay, good. That it didn't actually happen. Oh, God. So, guys, here's the message. Here's what I want you to take away from my dream. Here's what I took away from my dream. I think that this dream was kind of an allegory for my fear, or this thing that I'm going to go through of. The movie is better in my mind than it probably will be in reality, which is kind of sad because I want to go see that movie and really enjoy it. But at the same time, I think deep down I'm like, the build up to this movie and seeing it in advance, or having hopes for it and talking about it so much will probably impact my experience negatively. And I hope it won't, but I think that that's a reality that might come to pass. And in my dream, I blame myself for it. Like, oh God, if only I hadn't done these things, oh, the movie would be better. And I think that that's kind of fucked up. Like, why am I blaming myself? Anyway, it's one of the weirdest experiences I've ever had. One of the weirdest fucking experience. It's been bothering me all day. And what's even weirder is that I wore a Godzilla 2014 shirt today. I have the Godzilla 2014 logo as a shirt, and I wore it today because of that dream. I sought it out because of that dream. Oh, guys, I had a weird day. I had a weird-ass day. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for this video. That's my dream I had. So, I hope you guys got some enjoyment out of listening to me talk about my dream. I certainly enjoyed transcribing it. So yeah, hope you guys got something out of it, because I certainly did. I kind of realized something about myself and how weird I am. More so than ever. So I think that's going to do it. Thank you very much for listening, watching, whatever the fuck it is you do. It's beautiful. Anyway, I'm Zazubaar, and sayonara. And pray that Godzilla 2014 is better than my dream version. Anyway, sayonara, guys.